Facing It Now is one of the more recent songs. And it was a song that came out in one big gush. And I was at my piano and I was like, today I'm getting free from the root of bitterness. And I had like a fence and bitterness in my heart towards some people. And I had been blaming them. I thought maybe it was their fault, their fault, their fault, their fault, that things didn't turn out the way that they should have. And I couldn't even like figure out who to be mad at. And then I just felt like the Lord led me inward and was like, but what about you? And for a moment, I was like, I too have played the villain in my unforgiveness. I too have played the villain in my bitterness and in my disappointment. And I like picked a chord progression that felt right. I was like, this is where I am. I feel these chords right here. And I just started singing Facing It Now and was like scribbling down each line as it came. Just a genuine prayer. I couldn't face the contradiction. Like, this didn't make sense. This was the word of the Lord. How come this happened? That didn't make sense. Why would God tell me this and then this? And like just my own grappling with and like warring with this situation. And then realizing that even when I can say that I played the villain, he didn't leave me. Once again, he's not sitting there like, he's more like, come on, shh. Now what? What are you going to do? Are you going to die here in bitterness forever? Because it will destroy your fruit. Or are you going to overcome? And it was like this song just came out of that moment. And I literally was screaming at my piano, and I actually have the whole thing recorded. I like had the wherewithal to record it. I just want to make you proud. I just want to make you proud. And it was like crackling and then like I felt it leave. I released it. It's over. I'll hold these things against these people no longer, and I'll hold it against myself no longer. No one's to blame. And God's proud. And it was like, you're proud. He's proud. It's done. It felt like just a closed story. So that song was like deliverance to me.
Now, you said, one day I decided I'm going to go after the root of bitterness. Tell me about what thwarted. What was the final straw that you said, I can't live like this anymore? Did you have an experience? Was it just this, you kind of saw that your fruit was being tainted by this bitterness? Tell me about this just decided attitude one day.
I mean, I feel like there was a long time of trying to like fix it, trying to fix this problem in lots of ways. Getting prayer, talking to people, going over it. But until I was willing to like recognize my own part in it, that was the change. Like that day, that was the thing that changed. Was saying like, well, what about you, Katrina? You're not faultless. That was like that what changed that morning. And I think it's just the Spirit of God like draws us into growth. Like, don't despise the chastisement of the Lord, for he disciplines those he loves. And when he disciplines you, it's because it's the day for it. And you can't force yourself into it. You can't be like, can you discipline me now? Can you help me grow faster now? I've done that so much. I spent so much time like trying to grow up and be mature as fast as possible. And I would sometimes look at myself and like look for problems. I've like totally been one to be like, search me and find anything bad in me, God, and rid me of it, because I just want to like grow up faster. I just want good fruit faster. And I've just learned that that's not really the way that God works. And it's more like he leads you into it in his timing. And if we just rest and be moved by the impulses of his Spirit, which we'll get there, he disciplines in his time, in his love, in his way.
So you said that this day was like a deliverance. This was a moment where you really felt like the Spirit of God moved. You were able to forgive in this way. You got, so to speak, the log out of your own eye so that
Yeah.
you could see the speck in your brother's, and forgiveness was able to come.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like a moment,
Mm-hmm.
a day.
Mhm.
So tell me about the next day, the next week,
Mm-hmm.
when you saw these people.
Mm-hmm.
How did you, or, was the bitterness just evaporated, or was it a working out of a deliverance?
Yeah.
Tell me about the after.
Yeah. I think it is like a decision. Any day, what you meditate on will bear fruit in your mind. So if I can choose to go down any old past path route if I want to in my mind, and I can feel those feelings again and empathize with my past self, and have to get free all over again. Or I can like memorialize this moment by writing a song called Facing It Now and say, nope, that was the moment when it was over. And it's sort of like the Israelites stacking their stones. This was the moment God parted the sea, and those stones, what does it say? They're there to this day, which they're not literally there to this day, but like when Moses wrote that scripture, they were probably, was that? Yeah, they were probably still there to that day. Memorials are important. Whether, like for me, that was a song, but however we like create a marking moment to look back to and like say that was the day the page turned so that we can stay our minds on what's true now. I've also burned papers in my sink before. I had a record of wrongs and I wrote it out and I burned it in my sink, and I was like, you're not allowed to go to like try to remember that record of wrongs again. Because I could have if I wanted to. Like I could have said, okay, no, it was that. They said that thing and that thing. But if I burned it, it was like creating a physical memorial moment of that record of wrongs doesn't get to hold me back from love anymore.
That's really beautiful. A memorial. Um, you talked about the things we carry, obviously, in reference to the things that we're all kind of carrying around as part of our load. This song is incredibly personal. It is your process of getting rid of this particular thing in your life. And yet I feel like we can all relate. So tell me about the process of creating a song that is so your own testimony, your own story, and yet resting with the fact that everybody's dealing or has dealt with unforgiveness towards people.
Yeah.
And especially speak to people who think this wasn't a 60-40 wrong. This person was wrong 99%.
Yeah.
Or the person who's maybe still feeling like they were just completely wronged.
Yeah.
Speak to that situation or those people.
Yeah.
Are you still starting with you? As I'm going to just start with myself. I'm going to look in the mirror and still self-evaluate. What's the process for that person who feels like they've been totally victimized?
Mm-hmm. I think that forgiveness is like more for our own health than for the other person's sake. Like they don't deserve the forgiveness a lot of the time. In my case, they did. It's not that serious. But I'm glad the song is generic. Like I wanted it to be generic and I didn't need to get into the nitty gritty because I want it to lead people from a whole rainbow of situations through the same process. Because I think ultimately, if we've been forgiven for anything by God, then we owe forgiveness. There's like multiple verses about that, if we've been forgiven, we have to forgive. And so as long as we're harboring bitterness, it only poisons ourselves. And which is maybe too cliche, but I feel like if you can visualize what yourself looks like free from those person's tethers, like woman who's been victimized, woman who's been so abused, if you can picture what you look like without their fingerprint on you at all, like let God lead you into that person. Like let God cut off those old tapes in your head and tear up those scars. Like that's not a good metaphor. You can't tear scars, but you know what I'm saying? Like let there be a severing. And don't look back. Look forward. And there's so many people who like Joyce Myers as like an iconic example, a woman with a horrific testimony, and she doesn't smell like smoke because she cut off the past ability to mar her future. I think we all have the responsibility to do that for ourselves. We can't play the victim forever if we want to have good fruit.
So beautiful. Okay. So you talked about kind of just clomping on the piano. I just want to make you proud. I just want to make you proud. I just want to make you proud. And that was in the song. And then at the very, very, very end, you can almost miss it. You say,
Yeah.
you're proud.
Yeah.
So tell us about how I just want to make you proud, this pleading to please God turns into this settling that he is pleased.
Well, for me, part of deciding to forgive and recognize my log in my eye and all that was because I want to make him proud. Like, I genuinely want to be his best version of me. I want to be all that he's created me to be. And so part of that is not allowing these things to get in the way. And so I'm like, I really want to hold on to this bitterness, but I want to make you proud more. I want to make you proud more than I want to be justified. I want to make you proud more than I want to vindicate myself. And therefore, I'm like, the repeated declaration of it was just like me deciding to let go of self-justification and choose his way, his narrow way. And the beautiful conclusion is that he is proud, and he was proud, and he's proud all along. He was proud before, and he was proud after. Just like I would be of my own child. If my son was struggling with the same things, I would have been proud of him the whole time, the whole way through the process. And yet, I still want him to come through. I don't want him to be tangled up by his own weeds. So it's like both. He's both proud, and I want to make him proud. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
We are always arriving.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Beautiful.